Hi, it's Lee Gardner. I am the pensions guy and I wanted to talk to you today about yesterday's spring budget. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of the items in the budget. And let's be honest, there wasn't a huge amount in there. But what I want to focus on are the two pension changes that grabbed the headlines. So I'd like to talk about the scrapping of the lifetime allowance and the increase to the annual allowance. Now, many people were predicting before this budget that potentially there might have been an increase to the lifetime allowance, but it absolutely blew everything out of the water when Jeremy announced that it was basically going to be abolished and it was going to be scrapped. I mean, I just think that is such fantastic news. So the lifetime allowance is the amount of money that can be accrued in a pension without triggering a tax charge. Now, when this was introduced in April 2006, it was 1.5 million. We then saw this increase up to 1.8 million before then declining over a number of years. And just prior to the budget, the lifetime allowance was standing at 1,073,000. And in the previous budget, Rishi Sunak had basically put a freeze on this allowance for the next 5 years. Now, some of the commentators were basically saying that there was a chance that the lifetime allowance may have been increased, but in a move that was completely unexpected, Jeremy just completely abolished the lifetime allowance. So what does this mean? This means that you can accrue in your pension as much money as you can without triggering any tax charge. So then there was a second bombshell. The increase to the annual allowance. This is the amount you can save into your pension in a tax year without incurring a tax charge. The limit was £40,000 or 100% of your salary, whichever was the lower. So this was the amount that we've been running with for many, many years. And the huge increase to this number from 40,000 up to 60 was again massively unexpected. So now, from the tax year April 2024, you will be able to contribute up to £60,000 into your pension and get full tax relief. Now, although this increase seems really generous, it is worth noting that the annual allowance in 2006 was £215,000. Now, one of the great benefits of pensions, as well as the normal tax relief that you do get, it's if your income pushes you into a higher tax band, the ability for you to be able to fund a pension to take you back down into that lower tax band is particularly useful. Now, there are some other changes that were announced that maybe didn't grab the headlines like those first two. The first was the maximum amount of money that you can take from your pension tax-free. Now, previously it was 25% of your pension fund. This is now capped at 268,275, 275. So even if you manage to accumulate a substantial amount of money in your pension, 1.5, 2 million, your tax-free element will be capped at that number. So people on high income, so in excess of 240,000, were basically affected by what's called taper relief, which effectively meant that you lost some of your allowance to pay into a pension, and it could reduce or limit you to a maximum amount going into a pension of £4,000. One of the changes announced in the budget was that not only was this threshold going to be increased to 260,000, but what you could then pay into your pension, even if you breached this, was being increased from £4,000 up to £10,000 a year. Another change we saw in the budget was the increase to the money purchase annual allowance. Now, this was something a lot of people were getting caught out with. What the money purchase annual allowance is this. If you access benefits from your pension under flexible drawdown, then you could trigger the money purchase annual allowance. And what that meant was your annual pension contribution allowance reduced from 40,000 down to 4. So it was a real discouragement for people accessing their pensions and really restricting them in future funding. The good news is, announced in the new budget, was that there will be an increase to the money purchase annual allowance from £4,000 up to £10,000. So what this means is if you have accessed money in your pension under flexible drawdown, you still retain the ability to fund up to £10,000 in a tax year into your pension. So all in all, I believe this was a really good budget for people looking to increase their pension contributions and build their wealth in preparation for their retirement. If you're a high earner or if you run a limited company, I think this was great news, especially for limited companies, because I've speak to a lot of companies out there that are holding a lot of money in their company and are not sure what to do with it, and they've been maxing out on their pensions. You've now got this extra amount that you can now get into your pension fund out of your company without paying any tax. So that was my spring budget roundup, pensions edition. So I hope you found that useful. Please give me a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already. And as always, look after yourself, look after your money, and I'll speak to you very soon.